Hello everyone, I'm Mike DeAngelo with That's Entertainment, and this is your video review of A Boy and His Blob by WayForward. In 1989, David Crane, the creator of Pitfall, and the company Absolute Entertainment came up with a well-received video game for the NES called A Boy and His Blob, Trouble on Blobalonia. People rated the game very well for its time, and the company even considered releasing a tie-in toy and movie. 20 years later, WayForward released a reimagination of the original title for the Nintendo Wii. With such big shoes to fill, does a new boy and his blob rise above, or does it fall flat? A Boy and His Blob features a minuscule story at its best. A blob from Blobalonia comes to Earth seeking aid in defeating an evil emperor. The blob meets the boy and immediately befriends him, and both boy and blob travel through a few places on Earth before returning to Blobalonia to defeat the menacing ruler. There really isn't much to the story, but the game isn't really detracted from it either. It's a heartwarming tale where even the enemies aren't altogether violent or scary. In an industry that is saturated by aggression and hostility, the serene boy and his blob is a nice change of pace. A Boy and His Blob will stand out differently to different people. The game is a hybrid puzzler platformer, and fans of neither will likely resent the game. As a puzzler, the game is fun and clever, if a little less than challenging. And as a platformer, the game has its faults. You play as the boy, whose own actions are quite limited. You can move up and down ladders, move side to side, and perform a short jump. But the boy's real benefit comes from the jelly beans he feeds to the blob. There are 15 unique jelly beans which turn the blob into various things, like a hole, or a ladder, or a jack. The game is broken out into levels, and you only have access to a few jelly beans at a time, which keeps the game from getting too complicated. But they never give you more jelly beans than you need, which seems to dilute it a little too much. On top of that, there are a few places in the game, most notably the challenge levels, where the game swaps out puzzles for precision, and it can get fairly frustrating when you have to make a series of spot-on jumps or blob transformations, especially when the blob's AI is touchy and sometimes unresponsive. The regular levels have frequent checkpoints though, so even the die and try again formula isn't too bad there. For a completionist that irritates easily, however, this game could cause brief bouts of insanity. WayForward did a fantastic job of crafting the world's look. While the layout of the platforms and enemies might bother some, it's almost assured that everyone will like the style of the game. The hand-drawn art has a smooth, natural look to it. A Boy and His Blob is undoubtedly one of the best-looking games the Wii has to offer. The sound is another thing. While the musical choice was entertaining, it is overused. The same could be said about the sound effects. The boy screams for the blob incessantly, which gets kind of annoying, especially when the blob isn't responding.
Blob! This way! Blob! Hey!
There is a great amount of content in A Boy and His Blob. Besides the regular story, there is a challenge stage for collecting treasure chests from each of the levels. Completing the challenge stages unlocks extra content in the form of things like concept art and bonus videos. WayForward has been at it for a long time, but with the release of A Boy and His Blob, it makes leaps and bounds to the front of the Wii catalog. While the game suffers from a few grievances, like a frustrating mix of not enough or too much challenge, and overused sound effects, it's still enjoyable overall. It will be either hit or miss with the nostalgic crowd, who either like the concept or wish it followed the same open world form of the original game. But, with enough time and an open mind, this charming game might just rub off on anybody. That's Entertainment awards A Boy and His Blob a score of 7 out of 10.